Here's Alexander the Great, his diary. He's like, I was wanting to invade a city, but the walls were too large. And out of nowhere, here comes a flying shield that zaps it with light. It explodes the wall, and they go in and conquer.
I saw Fox News the other day talking about 4 types of aliens, right? They're like Greys, Nordics, reptilians, and insectilians. And you're like, okay, Overton windows moved substantially here.
We have UFOs in homes, and we have hauntings in the sky. Then what are we studying, right? What are we even doing?
If there's some kind of parasite on our species, I would like to know how to eliminate that or kill that or love it out of existence or whatever I need to do, and whatever the thing is that is the weapon against it.
I think that we're evolving to a place where we're figuring out some things to push the beast back in the darkness with. Consciousness, belief's a big thing.
My guest today is Nathaniel Gillis. Nathaniel is a religious demonologist and the author of A Moment Called Man and the Skin That Crawls. After living in a haunted house, Nathaniel spent 20 years researching what it was he encountered. He's the founder of preternatural epiphenomenal philosophy. Nathaniel has sought to redefine the nature of haunting phenomena, ghosts, and high strangeness. Nathaniel, welcome to the show.
Thank you, brother. It's always good to be on with you, and I'm just glad to be back again. Thank you for inviting me.
Man, I'm really happy to have you here, and a lot's happened since we last spoke, including, the initiation of so-called government disclosure, and it's got a lot of interesting conversations happening in the country right now, and I just thought, wow, who better to talk to about this than you? I just want to let the audience know to get started. I started talking to you because you brought a really different perspective than anything else I was hearing on not just the UFO phenomena, but all manner of high strangeness, as you call it.
I'll tell you what, it came at a cost. I grew up in the phenomenon itself in a paranormal environment, and I was forced to ask questions about what's going on. And there's only one thing that I'm confident of in my research, and that is that we will not get disclosure on what the phenomenon is about and from ufology. Ufology is riddled with people who do not know folklore. They don't know mythology. It's I have friends that are ufologists, so I'm not trying to frown on them or anything like that. My point, though, is my research now is centered around the occupants of the craft. I am not an automobile enthusiast. I want to know, honestly, because here's the thing, we have people that they'll speculate and everything, and I love doing that, by the way. I'm a theorist myself. But I think it's high time that if people are going to theorize about the phenomenon, I would expect them to having sat with it, right? Not just read a book or two, but actually go and do, in-home investigations and field work. And then once they've actually experienced this thing, they'll come to different conclusions. But that's where I'm at right now. I think that the field is changing. We're asking better questions, and perhaps that's enough. Maybe. I don't know.
One thing that I've noticed is a shift in the conversation, at least, from the outside, where I see less and less of the, they're from Beta Centauri and they traveled light years to be here.
Yeah.
It seems like people are landing around this kind of idea of interdimensional beings or beings that are actually maybe ultra-terrestrial. I'm hearing that term a lot more. Because the conversation also, I just want to point out, it's, I saw Fox News the other day talking about 4 types of aliens, right? They're like Greys, Nordics, reptilians, and insectilians. And you're like, okay, Overton windows moved substantially here. Zooming out of that, I want to come back to this idea of where are these beings or entities or whatever this phenomenon is, where is it coming from? But first, I guess, what's going on with disclosure? I was quite surprised with what came out on the Epstein files. Now, that came out because of legal reason, right?
Too,
Whereas this is an executive order. I did not
Yeah.
expect some of that stuff to make the light of day. But what's coming out here so far has been pretty milquetoast. I'm not real impressed with what I've seen, but they keep promising more. So what's happening, do you think?
I just think that the entire field of ufology they're asking the wrong questions. James Lukatsky is one of my favorite researchers. He's pretty much the biggest connection we have to the government and their team of researchers. He wrote a book called Future Visions, and in it he details his investigation into the phenomenon. specifically how it originated in his work. And he's like, I was contracted out to research UFOs, UAPs. And he's like, and I thought that I was just investigating that field. He's like, so I'm gung ho, right? I'm got my scientific method available, right? I got all my instruments, and we're out there researching craft in the sky. And he's like, but then we actually sat down with witnesses of UAPs, and we realized that we weren't studying UFOs at all, because people were witnessing these craft in the sky and then going home to malevolent hauntings. Right? And shadow figures and just apparitions that were haunting them. And it all stemmed from them witnessing a craft in the sky. And so James Lakatsky said, well, we have a significant issue because, first of all, I'm not researching what I thought I was. I'm researching something else that exists underneath the umbrella of the paranormal. It's not a class in and of itself. Right? It's not mutually exclusive. No, it's something entirely different. And that's where I'm at now. The problem is, again, that if disclosure is going to come from ufologists, we've missed the plot entirely. Here's why. Because we have UFOs in homes and we have hauntings in the sky. Then what are we studying? Right? What are we even doing? And so that's what I'm fed up with it. It's like, well, why am I even... By the way, I'm not invited to conferences, but if I were, I'd be like, well, why am I even here? Because we're not studying automobiles. We're studying phenomenology. We're studying the way the intelligence interacts with our perception. And so it's when I see that, yeah, we've had UFOs and hauntings in houses. Jack Hernandez, a San Pedro haunting of Dr. Barry Taft's research. Lights. All right, this will blow your mind. Lights were in the house, bud. And they're floating around and they're projecting physiological constructs. The only difference between that and a UFO is altitude.
Yeah.
And guess what? Here's the issue I'm having. If that is up there, what else are they projecting in our atmosphere that we are considering solid and real? That's why Lakatsky said in his investigation, I have the quote right in front of me. He's talking to these witnesses. He's like, okay, was the craft metallic or was it solid looking? In other words, there is a marked distinction. Not everything that is solid looking is solid. It appears as such. And so I'm afraid that if ufology is going to carry the mantle of disclosure, we've missed the plot entirely because we're missing it in the phenomenology. Let's have a seat. Let's talk about what's actually going on. Because if it's just UFOs, it's not. And if all we're studying UFOs, we've missed the moment entirely. And we're going to miss it so much so that we're going to reframe the phenomenon in a way that's not accurate to the actual data. And that's why I'm utterly frustrated.
So for the listener who's not, initiated in this way of thinking, you're suggesting that what we're seeing in the skies are less, like you said, less, racy sports cars and more projections or more of a haunting than a physical phenomenon, and that it's interrelated with things that it shouldn't be if it was what we're told it is. In other words, if it was, beings coming from other planets, why would it be wrapped up with hauntings and apparitions and occultic kind of things?
Right, because absolutely, this is exactly what I'm alleging here. And the issue, it arises when you look at hauntings. When Lakatsky said, okay, these people are being haunted, that's an entire field of research that ufologists are not doing. Right? They think, okay, we're carrying the cross of disclosure. And the Messiah complex arises to where they're trying to redefine the phenomenon. It's like, no, hold on a minute. Let's go into hauntings. We have to actually go into that field, look at the case studies. And the case studies are alarming. I mean, look at the San Pedro haunting with Dr. Barry Taft. He collected human blood plasma pouring from the cupboards, my friend.
Wow.
So again, it's not at all what I thought we were researching. I was like, kind of like Lukatsky, oh, this is UFOs and all that. Not at all, friend. It's something completely
Mm.
different. And I'm to the point now, like I said before, where we have UFOs in homes and hauntings in the sky. In the 1600s, the Battle of Edge Hill took place. There were thousands that lost their lives in that battle. 25, 30 years later, witnesses in England watched the sky as it was haunted. This blew my mind, by the way, where they're watching like apparitions go to war.
Oh, wow.
It's documented as much as it could have been at the time. And one of the witnesses goes to the priest, and the priest comes around. He goes, I don't know what I'm watching. What's going on here? So then they go to the mayor. They go to the governor. The governor comes out with other soldiers who fought in the war. And they're watching as these apparitions are just going to war. That's a haunting in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm realizing is that that's kind of backwards, right? It should be UFOs in the sky and, hauntings in the houses. No, we've got UFOs in homes and hauntings in the sky. So what are we really researching then?
Yeah.
That's wild.
There's this, let's say, I don't know what to call it, like the Joe Rogan kind of Jesse Michaels UFO industrial complex or whatever. This kind of idea of like these benevolent beings are going to come here and raise our consciousness and save us and give us technology and all of that. And maybe on the other end, you have kind of like ideas like Jacques Vallée's ideas of like, hey, these might be very deceptive beings, and it seems like people are actually really harmed by them. Just putting that out there as like the spectrum that the public is seeing right now, because the public's trying to sort through this obviously very slowly, and some people are very aware of it, some people are just becoming aware of it. But again, Fox News is talking about insectolins or whatever, so people are going to be sorting through this, right?
Yeah.
And so one idea is they're saviors, one idea is they're deceptive, and then you have the constant, the evangelical church is just constant demons, because they're prepped for such a big deception. Right. Given those three camps, I guess, how do you respond to that? It's not really a question, but like that's three camps that I'm seeing, and I'm hearing your voice saying something kind of a little bit different and weirder and honestly creepier too.
It's way creepy. It's way creepy. I mean, we've got cases in hauntings that, with those various models of the phenomenon, I think that we are being manipulated as a species. Whatever we're dealing with has mapped us out. It's clocked us, as some of my young cousins say, right? You clocked that? They've clocked us, Daniel. And they know us on a consciousness level, not just on a biological level. They understand consciousness in ways that we will never even imagine.
The nature of this phenomenon may be a mystery, but you know what isn't? The value of whole, intact bovine colostrum. I've been in the colostrum business for almost 20 years, and in that time, I've watched dozens of companies, especially today, sell cheap, defatted, adulterated, instantized fractions of colostrum. Now, they always say the same thing. They call it colostrum as if they're selling you the whole food form. That's like calling white flour whole wheat berries, or calling whey protein whole milk. But Surthrival is different. We have always carried the highest grade of whole, intact colostrum, and we carry it in 1 and 2 kilo packages, giving you the best price you'll find anywhere. If you're serious about immune health, gut lining integrity, or recovery and adaptations from your workouts, you want colostrum in your diet daily. The very best and the best value is at surthrival.com.
For one thing, it's something that I'm so fascinated by as of late is, well, if they can be invisible, why would they want to be witnessed by us?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And what I'm realizing now in the data is that when we do witness them, it's usually an interface. It's not really what they look like. And so, and again, when we're dealing with apparitions and hauntings, we're dealing with orbs, balls of light that will diversify themselves. They will project an apparition that looks as real can possibly be, to the point where these witnesses will interact with these apparitions. Okay, San Pedro haunting, again, Jack Hernandez. She walks into her room and she sees what looks to be a corpse sitting on her bed. He's gray, he's old, He has a checkered shirt on. His pants are, high waisted, and he's just staring at her. And when Dr. Taft said, "Now, was it an apparition?" She said, "No." Right? In other words, it wasn't like some translucent image. It was like you would be, right? Or me if we
Mhm.
just hung out one day and killed a bunch of chicken wings, which hopefully we do, right? One day. um, it would just be like us hanging out. Like we would look real to each other. That's exactly what she witnessed. And even again, the same case study, they cornered one of these orbs in a room and it's shooting off these lights. And all of a sudden it goes boom. And there is an apparition staring at Dr. Taff. It's just half a body though, but it's waist up. It's an animated man, by the way. And he's looking at them intensely and he's moving, he's animated. That's supposed to be, right, what we're researching. The problem is that we were not prepared for these entities to diversify themselves. Because if we went around and documented the presence of an apparition, not realizing it came from an orb, then we have been mythologizing the mask.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
In
Wow. Mythologizing the mask. In other words,
Yeah.
the orb projects an image. We've
Yes,
become obsessed
sir.
with the
Yes,
image.
sir.
Okay. So it's a bit like Plato's cave in a sense. We're looking at
Right.
the shadow on the wall and not
Yeah.
realizing that something's casting the shadow just behind us.
Yes, one caveat, because I love that allegory, is that the phenomenon is both the shadows and the fire.
Mm.
It is projecting, right? It's not like, okay, well, I believe I'm in reality. No, 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 no. It's causing us to go out and document cases where, okay, how many t-shirts have you seen in conferences, right? Where ghost hunting. Okay, what is that exactly? Right? And it gets down to this idea that, okay, the phenomenon uses these interfaces to interact. So it can be present with, but absent from. What's present with us, my dear friend, is the mask. It's possible, and I hate to say this. It's possible we've never truly seen its face.
Mm-hmm.
We've only seen its interface, the mediator, the connective tissue between our perception and what it wants us to see. And the problem is this: we are a visual species. We determine, at least in our biology, we determine threats by what we see. And so the phenomenon will say, okay, I'm deer and Edna,
Mm-hmm.
right? Why? Because it's diversifying itself, first of all, if that's the interface. So if you could be invisible, why would you want to be witnessed by me? What is actually going on here? And so I am more along the lines of consciousness being hijacked and manipulated than I am about, and by the way, I'm a car guy. I love to go to car shows, smoke a cigar, all that. I love that. But I'm not an automobile enthusiast when it comes to the phenomenon because I've sat in houses with families who have absolutely been devastated by this stuff. And if all we're doing again is saying, okay, look at this car door, look at these wheels. Wow, can it do amazing things? That's great. But why is it that I have cases where the people, literally, the dogs have to go to the vet? The wife has to go to the doctor. The husband feels like he's dying. He's got a triangle shaped scar on his head where something burned an image into his scalp. If I were to go in there and say, well, this is a side truth. Well, it's just Nephilim. Have a good night, guys. Have a good night.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing? Or I don't know much about what they are, but I can tell you what they're driving. No,
right,
it
right.
will not work. And I apologize for my passion, but we got to have different conversations than that. And this is why I'm saying, like, yeah, if disclosure is coming from ufology, we got it all wrong, pal.
So do you think that, okay, you've got all these actors in our government right now,
Yep.
two that come to mind, Anna Paulina Luna, the Republican congresswoman from Florida, and then Tim Burchett from, where's he from, Tennessee, I think.
Yes,
and they're out there saying a lot of things, right? Trying to drive this, they're driving this narrative. And then you have all of these other Grush and these other characters, Lou Elizondo, who are claiming to have research this phenomena for the government,
Right.
and they talk about us being in possession of craft and biologics and all of this.
Right.
From your perspective, are these people lying? Do they believe what they're saying? Are they acting on behalf? Is this disinformation from the government, or could it be disinformation from these entities we're discussing? But like, how do you read all of that? Because I'm seeing it from every direction right now.
Right.
I'm just coming from everywhere, such that at first I was like, oh, I see, it's soft disclosure. They leak it out a bit. But now I'm like, no, it's coming from every direction. I'm getting inundated with this as if I'm being prepared to receive some new message or some revelation. So I'm trying to, I don't really trust any of it. So I'm trying to sort through it. Yeah. So what are these people talking about, do you think? And do they have craft?
Well,
you said blood could come out of a cabinet. Like,
yes,
can they manufacture these devices for us essentially to play with?
Well, you hit it on the head here, pal. It's they can manifest whatever they want to. Whatever they want to. The Scroll experiment in England in the 90s, they actually had like the phenomenon. Okay, they're doing seances and they're conjuring the phenomenon, and the phenomenon was manifesting solid objects to the touch. And then somebody else would go and touch it and go right through the object. Their hand, there's nothing there. Now, I'm going to ask you a question because it's so fascinating to me the way they word things. If I were to tell you that we have non-human biologics, what would that mean to you, right? Because we're open source researchers, right? We would hear what, we hear. It's like, oh, non-human biologics. That kind of sounds like they have bodies. That's not true. It's not true at all. It goes back to Peter Levenda and Michael Aquino, who, by the way, Aquino was in charge of psychological operations. He contracted with the government. He was also an occultist. First of all, he left the Church of Satan in 75, and he started what's called the Temple of Set.
This is the guy with the creepy eyebrows.
Creepy. Right? You know how he's probably like staying up all night, like
twiddling them. Yeah,
creepy, man, creepy. But anyways, Peter Levenda was in an email exchange with Michael Aquino, and again, Michael Aquino is an occultist. He's a conjurer. In fact, he went to LaVey and said, "Look, I'm not a part of the Church of Satan because I believe Satan's a metaphor, right? I'm not a protagonist. I'm not anti-God. That's not why I'm here. I'm here because an entity came to me." That's what Aquino said. An entity came to me and told me that he is Satan. He's a real entity.
Oh, okay.
And this is going to blow your mind. And that his real name is Set. He's an Egyptian deity. That's the guy that Peter Levenda was in contact with.
This is a military guy, right? Like this guy is a high-ranking military official.
Military guy. Now that's really creepy. We got to do another show on that, man. That's really weird. But watch this. So Levenda is in a conversation with Aquino, and again, Aquino's in the government at this point, and he's in charge of literal psyops, like not like conspiracy psyops, like literally. That's his job, bud. That's his job. So Levenda goes, he goes, Michael, he goes, something bothers me. He goes, you mentioned the other day something about how we have non-human biologics. What does that mean? We have bodies? Listen to the wordplay. See, they're confident that we'll hear it and we'll come to a conclusion they want us to come to without giving us the proper definitions of the terms they're employing. So are they lying? And Aquino says, non-human biologics, ? Yeah, that's not bodies. He said, whenever one of our aircraft, or specifically our rockets, whenever they re-enter the Earth's atmosphere, any of the dirt that it collect, this is not mind-blowing, any of the dirt that's collected on the bottom of the rocket, when it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere, that's non-human biologics. So when we hear people say, right, under oath, yeah, we have non-human biologics, they're relying on our ignorance.
Mm-hmm. Because that could be panda toenails would be non-human biologics. I mean, right?
Panda toenails. That's a good rock band name, Panda Toenails. Yes, absolutely. You've got it. But it goes to show you how far they're willing to go to lead us to a certain conclusion. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, they're like, yeah, can you believe they really bought that?
Well,
Insane.
that's part of what really is bothering me about it, because I keep saying to friends, I keep
Mhm.
saying this, and I feel like some people hear it and some people are like, I don't really get what you mean. But I keep
Yeah.
going, what's scarier to you? That there are aliens, or that the
Yeah.
government's trying to make you think there's aliens? Because to me, if you play that card
Mhm.
and you're discovered, your credibility is forever destroyed, right? Like
Yeah.
like that's a, if the government is trying to convince the public that there is a war going on in heaven, or that there are
Yeah. Yeah.
beings coming here, and that's not true, boy, that's a pretty harsh indictment. And I'm curious too, your take on, there's the claim that Werner von Braun on his deathbed said, there's going to be a series of deceptions. It's going to be the
Yeah.
Russians are against us, then it's going to be terrorists, then it's going to be asteroids, then it's going to be we're being attacked by extraterrestrials.
Mhm.
And there's obviously this through line in the conspiracy world of Project Bluebeam, and this idea of a faked alien invasion just keeps coming and coming. And then it
Mhm.
dovetails again with the evangelical kind of revelation view that there's a great deception coming. And
Yeah.
so it feels to me that we're being led to believe something. I feel like each day that goes by, I'm getting breadcrumbs that are causing me to form a worldview that, if I'm not careful, is preparing to see some kind of beings
Right.
come here and do whatever they're going to tell us they're doing. So is
Yeah.
this a deception? Like, is our government working with these entities or being deceived by these entities?
I think both.
Mm-hmm.
I think both. And that's a sad conclusion. I didn't want to come to that conclusion, but that's where my research led me. I mean, and I'll tell you this too, there seems to be, and this is really dark and deep, a secondary government in this world.
Mm-hmm.
We saw them first when they're really glitches in the matrix when men in black show up to your doorstep. And comes from, I think it was Tammy Stone's case study, where she's an abductee and she had an out of body experience during her abduction. And she literally is waking up the next morning, brushing her teeth, trying to understand what actually happened to her the night before. She gets a knock on the door, and she opens the door, and there are two government officials. Hello, Miss Stone. We're here because we want to ask you some questions. Did you have a weird dream last night about being pulled out of your body? Huh? Right? And then she's like, well, I haven't even told my mother that. How did you know? So there is this, again, and I don't really like the term deep state because it has so many implications, but there is some kind of paranormal deep state.
Breakaway civilization? Is that too far? I mean,
no,
these
it's
guys
no,
got
no, 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 no.
giant underground bases. They're
everywhere. They're right here. First of all, Daniel, they're right here. They're not out there.
Mhm.
They're here. Okay, let's dive into that narrative for a second. And it's not a narrative; it's actually good research. Let's go to the Skinwalker Ranch when they were doing thermal imaging. And one of their researchers is like, Josh, come here. You gotta see this. On the camera, Daniel, there is a skyscraper. It's in the basin. It's a skyscraper. Something out of Chicago, something out of New York City. And they're going, what is that? So they send out one of their guys. Okay, here's the coordinates, right? Oh, hey, Jack, you're 200 feet off. You got to keep going, keep going. Now you're there. Do you see anything? Nothing's here. Well, and this is why I'm not settling for, well, here's what a UFO is. What? We got see what I'm doing? Skyscrapers that are, again, they're not in the sky. It's like, oh, it's right here. Here. And it was another civilization. And I know I sound crazy.
A little crazy, but I like
a little
it.
Crazy. Thanks, but I'm just passionate, man, and this research is the only thing I'm good at. So
I'm just trying to pin you down on there. I want to try to pin something down here.
Yeah.
Is this
construct?
phenomenon?
A little bit of construct.
Okay, so I used to go down to the desert of Arizona and catch
Yeah.
bufo toads and
Sweet.
squeeze their glands, and we'd smoke that. And for a minute, about 1 minute,
Yeah.
you forget you exist. You
Yeah.
dissolve completely. Your ego's gone. And then when you come back into your body, it's kind of a bummer. You're like, oh man, me again. You know,
Oh no.
pretty good where I was.
I would feel like that, definitely. I'm like, oh God, no.
Oh yeah, all my problems back again.
Yeah.
But I bring it up because when you come back, the immediate sense I had was, the first time especially, was, oh, this isn't even real. This reality is not even real. This is like this is a dream. This is a construct. This is a sim. This is a creation, whatever you want to call it. But it's just one very thin bandwidth of infinity, right? Are they? I'm getting the impression you're saying they're not projecting a hologram the way we would think of it. They're projecting into consciousness. They're manipulating the base reality that we are interpreting to be real.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I'm a big fan of The Matrix, by the way, but I'm an even bigger fan of Dark City.
Yeah, what a dark movie that is.
And yeah, it's like probably Dark City, Twister, and Tombstone for me, by the way. But anyways, my friend, yes, they're projecting consciousness and creating constructs out of it. And the Collins elite realized that. That's what they stumbled over in the 50s. Now, what I mean when I say we live in a construct, I would not be surprised, honestly, if it turns out, and there's a lot of data points that point to this, by the way, that we are in the Truman Show, essentially, where everything is scripted. My dear friend Steve Mira, and he's a great guy, but he's probably the leading parapsychologist. You got to talk to him, man. You'll love him. In the world, pal, you love him to death. But anyways,
Steve
his
Mira?
name is Steve Mira. Yes, sir. I can get you guys in contact with him.
That'd be great.
But anyways, Steve was like experimenting with the phenomenon and during doing like EVP work, and the phenomenon was like, yeah, listen, you're going to be at a conference. And they start detailing where he's going to be up to about 14 to 16 months in the future. And it would happen. And Steve is like wondering, because he's brilliant guy, he's like, this ain't right. I thought I have free will. And so another message came to him, okay? This is where you're going to be at this certain time in the future. And so he, like the Truman Show, if you remember that one moment when he's got Laura Linney in his car and he's like, okay, watch this. He turns to the left instead of right, you know, and they were like, oh no, and they come collapsing onto him. That's what happened. He's like, it got to a point, buddy. He's telling me, he's like, it got to a point where I did everything I was not going to do. I just did everything the opposite. I canceled a bunch of plans, right? You know, if I was going to go out tonight, I just sat home and watched Frasier. Sure, you know, shout out to Frasier. He's like, you know, I did everything opposite. And he's like, next thing I know, right? I'm right where they told me I was going to be. So there is, honestly, I would not be surprised if it's not aliens at all. Honestly, I would not be surprised. And I'm going to tell you a story after this to kind of tie this together. If it's not humans, here, we can't see them. We can't. So another story for you. This is amazing.
Wait. Did you just say are you saying you wouldn't be surprised if it was actually humans?
I would not be surprised at all.
In other words, that it might be other humans.
Yes.
Living or not in the way that we think of living, or
that's a good point. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they would exist. I don't know what they're made of, but I would not be surprised. I mean, who built a skyscraper like that? Right? That's ridiculous. You know, like, what is that? That's not like some alien pod. It's literally like you're in Chicago. Like, what is this?
So wait, going back to that skyscraper, then you're insinuating that it wasn't an apparition of a skyscraper, but actually a revelation of another dimension,
reality,
another place.
my friend.
And they were living like we live urban. Can I ask you one question? I want to hear your story, but I just want to ask this. Do you think that the technologies that are rapidly upon us come from them or from us?
I think it's both. I think that whatever they are, they do give us insights. You know, I do believe that I mean, I know people that have had dreams and then created multi-million-dollar companies out of it, like an
Mm-hmm.
entity, like
Sure.
literally an entity, not a person. Let's say a person just comes, oh yeah, by the way, you might want to do A, B, and C, and then they wake up and like, okay, I don't know why, and it's a complete life change, right? Complete like career
Sure.
shift, and they go into that business and now they're millionaires. So I think that there is a measure of technology that is inspired by them. Uh, but here's the problem. A lot of the technology we're using to measure the phenomenon has been given to us by the phenomenon,
Mm,
right? So that's a control mechanism. That's another way to control the interface. I'm only going to let you measure me,
mm-hmm.
right, with my tools. In other words, again, it's not disclosure. It's like, well, that's all we have, right? It's another manipulation. So years ago, uh, I met a lady, and when we first started talking, she had a huge scar, and I noticed it. It's like, okay, how you doing and everything, and we're catched up and everything. And she goes, Nathaniel, she goes, I know you want to ask. Go ahead. And I'm like, okay. What what happened? And she goes, thank you for asking. I was like, oh God. Right. But no, she's like, yeah, she goes, years and years ago, she's like, I worked as an EMS individual, associate, whatever they call them. And she's like, I'm in the she goes, I got a call. She goes, I'm in the ambulance. I'm flying down the highway. This blew my mind, dude. It gave me chills. I was like, there's no way. She goes, and I hit black ice, and I'm ejected out of the ambulance. My head hits the median. Bam. She said it dissolved all of the connective tissue in my skull. She goes, and at the time we were like sitting in front of her house. She goes, I can't even walk down the driveway. She goes, that's why I didn't walk down in the driveway to hang out with you. She goes, I had to sit up here. She goes, if I fall, right, I'm out. I'm done. And I'm like, okay, like that's wild. She goes, no. She goes, I had a near death experience. I said, okay. She said, I remember just opening my eyes into another reality. She said, and I'm there looking at my father, who she's like, and I've lost him 15 years ago. And she said the colors were brighter. She goes, it wasn't that I was breathing or not breathing. I had my own body. I still have my body. She goes, I'm looking at him. And his first words go, it's crazy. He goes, what are you doing here? Right. And she's like, oh, I have no idea. She goes, the last thing I remember was I got in a really bad wreck. I don't know if I'm dead or what, but I know I'm not doing good out there or down there, wherever there is. She's like, but I know that I don't feel sick anymore. I'm not hurt anymore here. And it's hyper real. She's like, Nathaniel, it was more real than reality, than this world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, okay, I knew this was leading up to something, and it kind of ruined my day because I'm ADHD, pal. So the rest of my day, I'm like, what does that even mean? She goes, my father looked at me and said, it's not your time yet. You have to go back for your boys. And I'm like, oh no, because I knew the other foot's going to drop, right? Then she said, but Nathaniel, I didn't have my twin boys for a decade.
Yeah.
Boom. What are we dealing with? What are we
Mm-hmm.
dealing with? Again, we can get to so many stories, but we have cases where beings just show up, walk through the walls. Now, something that I need to address too, and Steve and I have covered this extensively on NHI discussions, but what we're looking at are entities in craft that, and Jacques Vallée had one of these cases where it goes through trees at an angle. Does it disturb the tree line at all?
Mm.
But when it lands on the turf, it disturbs the turf. Here's a theory, right? It's not transplacing itself. It's the fact that those trees don't exist when it's at. It's not there.
Mm.
The
Mm.
geography does not exist for that craft, right? And the only space we share with it is the turf that it disturbs.
Mm.
So now these are crazy theories, I understand. But now we go back into entities when they're walking through walls. Why? Because it doesn't exist for them.
Mm.
It doesn't. Same thing in hauntology. I have a video in my files of a shadow figure. Again, this is what Lukatsky's trying to articulate. It's not UFOs. It's something completely it's stranger, where a shadow figure is walking through a hallway and you see him. It's just a shadow. It looks like a big guy, big burly guy. And he walks through the hallway, opens the door of a bedroom. The door swings open. Why? Because he shares that part of geography with us. But then he opens up the door of the closet and walks right through the closet. Why? Because that is where he exists. And there's a fleeting moment where these realities blend,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? In these entities, this is crazy. I know, but I'm already there, guys. So in these entities know when that comes around enough to go.
Yeah.
Now, they also know when it comes around enough to pull us out.
Example?
Yes, that's an out-of-body experience. That's a near-death experience. My buddy Josh Akutch, you probably want to talk to him too. He has a book called The Ecology of Souls, where literal people, this is wild. Oh my God. Where these people are being abducted and they're on this craft, okay? And there's a woman that walks up to them. And I'm going to paraphrase one of the case studies. It'll blow your mind, man. Hi, I'm Becky, and I died today. What? Yeah, I died today. I'm here now. I don't know why. Well, again, one is deceased. The other's an abductee. And the abductee's like, there's no way. There's no way.
I'm trying to have an alien abduction here. What are you doing with this?
What are you doing? Like, come on. Yeah. I would be mad, right? Like, where are my aliens at? But again, that's a ghost. See? Mm-hmm. And so this, the person's like, listen, here's my name. Here's my address. Look me up.
Mm-hmm.
And that abductee leaves, again, that environment when it folds and there's the connective tissue, leaves that environment, comes back to this environment and goes, bam. They did die that day. So here's the implications. Either they know who dies, who's gonna die, or and actually manifest as that person, right? Which is really evil, or that's actually somebody, right? That transitioned. So my point though,
it is on that craft though, or is like taking that craft to the other side, or what? Weird. What does that mean?
Ray Fowler is a researcher. He's dead now, but Ray Fowler had a theory. And again, guys, I'm just talking shop here, just providing different models of the phenomenon that fascinated me. But Ray Fowler said that they are the butterfly form of us, and we are the larva form of them. Now, if you take that to Michael Masters' theory, where they are us in the future, yeah, but that's time. What about existence? What about ontology? And so we get into this space where it's like, again, we're kind of safe with UFOs, because when we talk about this stuff, it's like that's weird, and it's stuff that nobody wants to talk about. But these cases exist, and it's worth discussing.
I got a pretty big background studying the difference between wild creatures and domesticated creatures. And, I'm pretty fascinated by that. And so I grabbed this quote of yours that really stood out to me. It says, we must never let the others, and you have others all caps, we must never let the others domesticate consciousness. And so it leads me to this question. So to what end? Is this a farm? Is this, are we food? Are we fuel? Are we resource of some kind? Like, if I think of why we domesticate things, sometimes it's food. Sometimes it's a product, like we want, their silk or something like their fur pelage. Sometimes it's we want their labor. To what end? What would we provide? Why would entities that appear to be this advanced have, first of all, if it's us in some future time space, why deceive us, and why harm us? So to what end?
Well, I believe we are in a parasitic relationship with the phenomenon.
Mm-hmm. I do too.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wish it was different, but that's the data.
I got a
And
word from you too today, neuroparasitology.
it's one of those big ones. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, of course, it is parasitic. And Colm Callagher mentioned this. He was one of the lead, if not the leading scientist for the National Institute of Discovery Science and Bigelow's group. He talks about, yeah, we are in a relationship with a parasitic presence. And my point, though, is that, yes, I think okay. Let's go to a case study that Gary Nolan had in France. This will freak you out even more.
It was all the way back in 2008, 18 years ago now, that I founded Surthrival, a boutique-grade nutrition company designed to help folks thrive in a rapidly changing world. With all that change has come a tremendous decline in our health from a combination of environmental, lifestyle, and psychological factors that are beyond our control. Thankfully, there's a powerful class of natural substances known as adaptogens that help us to quickly adapt to psychological, physiological, and emotional stresses in our environment. And those adaptogens are just one of the things that Surthrival specializes in. From our top-tier whole colostrum products, to our dual-extracted medicinal mushroom formulas, to our line of American-grown elk antler extracts and elk organ complex, and our androgenic pine pollen products, everything we carry is wild-sourced or grown to the highest standards, and formulated by me. We don't just use top-tier ingredients, we extract in organic alcohol, package in light-resistant Miron glass, and ship everything from our facility right here in Maine. Go to surthrival.com to see our entire lineup. There's a reason we've had an over 65% return customer rate for 18 years. These are powerful, natural formulas that deliver real results. Find it all at surthrival.com.
A little girl is in a car and she looks up through the sunroof and she sees a craft, or the craft, right, wants to be seen by her. She locks eyes on it. It creates a conscious connection with her. Then she begins to describe what she's witnessing with her eyes to her mother. And her mother takes out her Apple iPhone and goes, snap, I got a picture of it. The problem is, what the daughter witnessed with her eyes was completely different than what came up on camera.
But she did get something on camera.
She did get something. Now, here's the question. There should be one. There's two now. Oh, my God. Where'd the second one come from? It came from the conscious connection the phenomenon created with her. And now she sees a craft. Now, something that Steve and I have been bouncing around, and it's actually really terrifying, this is probably the darkest theory I have, was that something caused her to observe it. And as she was observing it, it pulled something out of her consciousness, and she's seeing it. Now, those are two different craft. Which one's real and why? See, the Collins Elite research, what they got down to was absolutely fascinating.
Can we give a little background for people who aren't familiar?
Yeah.
And the book is what, Final Events?
Final Events.
I highly recommend this book.
Oh, it's wild. It's
a wild ride, yeah.
The Collins Elite were a group of physicists in the Department of Defense who were fascinated by the occult connection, the connective tissue between ufology and ritual magic. And so they investigated Jack Parsons and just they talked to Sybil Leek. And people like to paint them as fundamentalists, which is wild because that's where they began. That's not where they ended up.
Oh, that's interesting to know because the book kind of ends painting them as Christian fundamentalists.
Oh, yeah. Well, I grew up in evangelicalism, okay? My dad's a pastor. I have the actual document that is basically the entire collective writings and communications between Ray Boucher, Linda Moulton Howe, and the Collins Elite. So I have the whole file.
Oh, wow.
And no, you ready for this, pal? They believed, and their research led them to believe, that we live in a hologram.
Mm-hmm.
And
That really resonates with me based on my
of
own
course,
experiences.
of course, man. You know, I think that anybody, any rational researcher would come to that conclusion, you know, like, hey, listen, this is where we're at. My point, though, is that the Collins elite discovered that. We live in a hologram. And then they went into this kind of monolith phenomenon that I'm leaning into heavily, is that practitioners of the occult in the government were performing ceremonial magic and they were projecting their consciousness. Oh, man. And they're projecting their intention and consciousness out of their bodies collectively. Stark City, right? They're tuning. And as they're tuning, right, constructs are emerging, buildings, right? And people think that's reality. Mind blowing.
Mhm.
But the Collins elite said, okay, these people were actually projecting their consciousness and intention collectively into another environment, and they were creating physiological constructs with their collective projected consciousness. So much so that witnesses in that other environment were perceiving their constructs as UFOs.
Oh, okay. Okay. That starts to make sense to me now. So the UFOs may be projections of the consciousness of the conjurers themselves.
100%. Now, that's why reality doesn't exist for them.
Wow.
So
That's crazy. Okay.
Peter Levenda, one of my favorite researchers, because again, we're on different ends of the spectrum, he and I, a good guy. And, but he wrote a book and he helped write a series of books called Secret Machines with Tom DeLonge, AJ Hartley. But one of his theories was that, yes, that a lot of these UAPs, UFOs, are actually projections of ceremonial magicians.
Wow.
Interdimensional, outside of the construct, and they're projecting their consciousness inside of the construct. Now, we got time. We good? Now,
Oh, please.
now we're going to get into some of the USSR parapsychological research. In the 70s, they were today Russia, but USSR then. They were performing experiments in a controlled laboratory, and they had an individual there, and they placed a blank piece of paper in an envelope, taped the envelope to the practitioner's head, okay, and said, okay, project your consciousness into that envelope. Okay, so they go through the process, right? And then out of nowhere, that's okay. Not just that, we want you to project your consciousness at the point where we want you to carve symbols into that piece of paper. And they did it, my friend. So then, this is my blog. Then they did this. It's okay, we're gonna take a step further. 20 feet away. We're gonna place the envelope 20 feet away. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing. What happened between then and before is that from the mind of the practitioner, consciousness was projected. And there's a translucent cloud of energy that evolved and merged and transferred and hovered like a cloud. Translucent cloud, by the way.
Visible to
Visible, my friend.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, you're going to love this. And so it's floating through, right, the room, and they're watching this. Eyes as big as saucers. What is that? And it moves across the room, and it descends now down upon the envelope. And next thing they know, they wait a little bit, right? They take it. They're just, open it up. And the person had carved symbols into that piece of paper from 20 feet away. Now, there are two things that is worth noting. Number one, symbols occurred by virtue of projected consciousness, okay? Then we have this activity. We have the translucent cloud. It's called a biofield. Inside the cloud are orbs. Now, it was documented as ball lightning.
Okay.
As ball lightning. So
Same thing.
Same thing, right? Yeah. Well, what they realized was, no, like, consciousness can be viewed as a cloud, right? After it leaves the body, and inside that cloud are corpuscular balls of light we would call orbs. Again, it's the projected consciousness model. Now, I have a case study of Dr. Carla Turner's, okay? And Dr. Turner this is fascinating, and I've worked with the family as well that this happened to. The husband and the father and the son are in the living room. They're watching television. The mother is sleeping next to them, okay? And as they're watching television, my friend, here comes the same kind of translucent cloud, right? It's hovering. It went through the hallway into the living room. It descends down upon the sleeping mother. 40 minutes later, she says, I was abducted by an alien. The problem is, my friend, she woke up with sigils on her body. Where did that come from? It's the same thing with Lavenda's model, right? That came from a practitioner projecting his or her consciousness into that woman's body. So what we're looking at, and this is my model of phenomenon, is yes, these seem to be a species of practitioners, my friend. And the Collins elite stumbled over that. Peter Lavenda stumbled over it. I stumbled over it in my incubi research. So it's possible that a lot of what we're witnessing and experiencing in ufology, right, Matthew Roberts, dude, my ADHD's kicking in, buddy. And I'm feeling really comfortable with you, so I'm just hanging out real quick.
Please.
Matthew Roberts. Okay, again, what I got the quote here. What did Lakatsky say? It starts out with witnessing the craft, right? And so what happens is Matthew Roberts he witnesses the gimbal UAP. That was the phenomenon catching his eye, right? It wants to be seen. Now it can be invisible, but why would it want to be seen? So it's observed, and he lays eyes on it. And he goes home. This is crazy. And he's sleeping in the middle of the night, and a voice comes to him and begins to give him instructions on which occult literature to read.
Nope. All set.
That's a no for me, dog, right?
Yeah,
Remember
I'm out.
American Idol? Yeah, that's a no for me, dog. Well, and then something even crazier happens. Like, okay, first of all, he wakes up the next day like, whoa. And so he's reading Manly P. Hall, and all that. And then he's like, well, this is really cool stuff. And then he goes to bed again. And an entity comes to him, a female, it's a succubus, and assaults him
sexually.
Well, I didn't want to go there, pal. Yeah, absolutely. It defiles him. And the next morning, here's where we're at. He's dry heaving. I thought it's all love and light. No, he's literally dry heaving, my friend. He's outside of this is his testimony, outside of his apartment. And he's devastated. And what happened was the phenomenon came back to him and said, you were being initiated. Into what, Daniel? Into what? So my point is, this appears, it's not a glitch in the matrix. It's not a bug. It's a feature, right? It's a feature. Right. There is a species of practitioner that is initiating people through these encounters. And that's where I'm at.
Okay, I want to ask a couple questions about, so you said your dad's a pastor, and you and I both have obviously a lot of experience in the evangelical church. When I'm there, I consider myself a follower of Christ, but I struggle deeply with the church today because I feel like I'm reading one of those little kid Bibles when I talk to them. You know what I mean?
Where it's and stuff. Yeah.
Very, very simple, very, very simplified, right?
Oh yeah.
I read it a little different. For me, I read it like we live in this construct. The construct got hijacked. Then we're trapped in it. And then eventually the creator of the construct downloads his son into it. He comes in and he says like, the ruler of this world is coming. He has no claim over me. Right? So in other words, Jesus is saying, this world's got a ruler. He's not a good guy. He's got some claim on everybody. Yeah. Right? The church would call it sin or whatever it is, but it's like somehow there's something that keeps us victims to this authority here, which is also called the power of the prince of the air. That's kind of weird. But all right, and then it says that Jesus basically, his death is a ransom payment, which is really fascinating because a ransom payment is something you pay to get a kidnapped victim or a slave their freedom. So I feel like the story that I hear from Christians is like, I'm like, yeah, it just feels like the little kid version. The grown-up version is a lot more wild and intense, and if people knew the grown-up version, they'd find it much more interesting, I think. But I get the impression, and I got the Shroud of Turin up there because I love that image, because it's like then he leaves. They literally don't have a claim on him. He's out.
He's out.
So,
he's out.
I'm just curious how all that lands. I feel like that story is a story of a hijacked dimension where humans got into some kind of pact with another species, and then we become, I don't know if we're food or if we're fuel or what, but we're like, you called them parasites, and it's like, well, parasites, they need nutrition or they need something from the host, right?
Yeah, I would so there's so many directions to go with that, man. We always have good conversations, pal. It's always like, okay, where do I want to go with this? It's like you hit me with something, I'm like, okay. Yeah, I do believe it's parasitic. In neuroparasitology, and it's so fascinating. First of all, I had a conversation with an ecologist a while ago, and we're talking about parasites in the ocean and all this, and like parasitic mimicry and all that. And the conclusion of the talk was essentially that the phenomenon is parasitic, not just in the way it mimics us, by the way, but the way it changes our neurology. And this is a data point that's throughout all of the case studies. It's not just shared, or it doesn't just exist in one field. It's everywhere in the paranormal, where when you are entertaining the phenomenon, it is pulling everything out of you. It's looking at your life story. I mean, literally within milliseconds. It's got everything. Okay, cool. Well, you experience the phenomenon, but you're being experienced by it. So it's that kind of relationship that's symbiotic. My point is that it changes your neurology. So people will experience the phenomenon or they'll witness a craft and they'll be awestruck. And I've heard this over and over again. I wanted to reach for my phone. It's right here, but I didn't. Why? I don't know. Right? Or I had a case study of a lady that was accosted by an entity. It appeared to be her husband. Now, this is wild. She's in her bed.
That's crazy.
This is going to blow your mind, pal. She's in her bed, and she's getting ready for bed and everything, and she sees her husband. It was like a shadow figure or something to the left of her peripheral vision, and then when she observes it, it's her husband, which is weird, right? And then like he assaults her, and she's like, I remember like being in a stupor. I was really tired, and I didn't really, I couldn't give consent. It was just like, what's happening? And the mind-blowing part about this is when it had like issues with his physiognomy, right? It looked like her husband, but it couldn't hold its shape, and so it was like glitching in and out,
like
right?
AI art or something.
AI, pal. Exactly. That's a great thing. Yeah, great point. And so, and she realizes, like, wait a minute, right? She's coming back to herself. She realizes there's something wrong about you. You can't be my husband. And then she's remembering what the phenomenon caused her to forget. Well, of course, Becky, it's not your husband, because your husband's right next to you, sleeping, buddy. Wow. And she's going, and I didn't, literally, there's two of them, and it blocked her memory. Okay, that's called neuroparasitology. Where it changes your neurology. It causes you to think what it wants you to think. In fact, dare I say, it thinks on your behalf. It wants you to think it's your thoughts. It's not, right? And so that's neuroparasitology. I mean, I sometimes when I do lectures, I talk about Toxoplasma gondii, where it gets into
this happens.
Let's go, buddy. Let's go, man. Yeah,
yeah,
right? Yeah, buddy. So it gets.
So you're talking about fungus that change the behavior of,
right, not literal fungus, but like consciousness, a parasitic cryptid consciousness. And so what happens again, it's like, okay, I'm a mouse. Yeah. I'm terrified of cats. Why? Because cats love me. They're going to eat me, and that's a predator. What it does is it retunes the mind, changes your neurology. Well, now I'm craving cat urine. Why? Because it's not you craving it, right? It's the entity within. It's the phenomenon. And so what it does is it changes the neurology of that mouse. And now it's over there in proximity of a predator. Now, here's the point. Why? Because the main goal of the parasite is to get another host.
Which is the cat.
It's the cat, buddy. It's the cat. So what we're looking at now, again, even within just like Matthew Roberts' case, right? And this is what cats he's trying to articulate. I thought, hey, it's just a UFO. No. That was the parasitic entity. And observing it, we call it in the field hitchhiker effect, right? Observing it went into my bloodline. And now dude, I've got a case study of a lady that witnessed, she was a CE5 practitioner.
These are the folks working under Greer trying to call these things.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I always call them Spirit Airlines, because a lot of times they'll be conjuring planes. I'm sorry, guys, but it is funny. But anyways, this individual was like, she's like, my husband and I have been practitioners of CE5 for a while. She's like, and we finally succeeded, and lights manifested above us in the sky. And we were like, oh my goodness, it's a life-changing experience. And I was like, I scrolled down the email. I was like, read on, because I know it's going to happen. I was like, well, okay, let's see. She's like, yeah. She's like, the problem is, like, a couple days later, something really violent happened to us. Beings manifested to us, to both my husband and I. And we woke up the next day, like, beat up violently. And she's like, was that a dream? And he's like, I don't think that was a dream at all. Something really bad happened to us. They had the physical, right? The manifestations of it. They just don't remember what happened. And then she goes, Nathaniel, that was traumatic enough. She's like, it rocked our household, and we very rarely talk about it. She's like, but to top it all off, I wake up one day and I have a symbol.
This is a recurring theme, huh? The sigil magic.
Absolutely. Again, a symbol in my right eye. Whoa. And I'm going, oh no. Because, a lot of these case studies, it's like, I don't want that to happen. A lot of the stuff I don't even want to know, right? I mean, I feel called to do the research, but this is like real dark stuff. And she's like, she goes, it was in my right eye, in the bottom of my right eye. And she goes, this is crazy. She goes, I saw it. She goes, when I closed my eyes, I could see it. When I went to work, I could see it. She goes, it got to a point where I thought it was physically in my eye. She goes, no. I went to my optometrist. He looks at my eye, comes back and says, there's nothing there. She goes, but I see it. Come on, man. She goes, I see it right now. It's right there. I could see the symbol. He goes, no, what you're seeing is not physically in your vision. Something else is producing that. When people, again, what I'm trying to stress over and over again is that it's not, we cannot afford to be automobile enthusiasts with this phenomenon, because real people are going through this.
Well, it also occurs to me, you've got those CE5 practitioners. So you got this group of people who they're calling these things to themselves, and now we're getting, again, inculcated in this idea. What I see a potential for is a mass psychological desire to see these things, which seems like a way to invoke a mass experience of this possession or parasitology or whatever kind of thing. Like if you have, especially because there's a savior narrative woven through it, like, oh, our world's getting so out of control, maybe these more advanced beings can help us set the world straight and help us govern ourselves. So you're going to have all these people inviting these entities into themselves. Like, if seeing them is enough, like, so many people wish they could see a UFO, and it seems to me, my mom's life was destroyed by this. I want to ask this other question.
Yes, sir.
My mom's a negative, O negative blood type. My wife's an A negative. What's up with these RH negative? Is there a thing to that? Because both my wife and my mom have the strangest experiences, and they're both RH negative. And I hear that come up a lot. Are there people who are predisposed for some reason to this?
Ooh, I do believe that's the case, and it's not just the blood type. Gary Nolan has his research is phenomenal, but Gary Nolan, um, he's a pathologist, and he was researching the brain activity of experiencers. And again, it's just that's where the research leads. It's fascinating.
Hmm.
But he sat down with one, like a grandfather. Okay, he goes, okay, have you ever witnessed anything that's paranormal in your lifetime? And the guy goes, yeah, absolutely. And he lists all the cases, right, his experiences. He goes, okay, do you mind if we do a brain scan on you? He goes, sure. So we do a brain scan on him, and there was some kind, I'm going to say this loosely, like a scar tissue on a part of his brain. And he's like, okay, so you've experienced the phenomenon. You have an anomaly on your brain scan. Okay, cool. Do you have a son? Yeah, I have a son. Okay. So the son comes in, right? Interviews him. Gary does. Okay, have you experienced the paranormal? All my life. I see all kinds of stuff. It's annoying. Okay. Do you mind if we do a brain scan? Sure. So same anomaly, same part of the brain. Second generation.
Mm.
And then the third generation comes. Okay. Have you experienced anything in the paranormal? Not at all. Not at all. Okay. They do the brain scan, and the same anomaly occurs on a part of the brain. The phenomenon had targeted one, this is my interpretation, had targeted one generation, tailored that experience for the grandfather just to bleed into the bloodline of the family.
Hmm.
To where it changed neuroparasitology, changed the neurology of that child. So literally, you have a grandfather 50 years ago experiences something from the paranormal. It's in the bloodline now, and
Mm.
it's after someone else down the line.
Do you think that when people get involved, when I say involved in the occult, I don't mean they
Yeah.
go down to the local shop and buy like tarot cards and some incense, but I
Yeah.
mean when they get
Yeah.
serious about it,
Mhm.
do you think that they're inviting these things into their bloodlines? And
Yeah.
also, do you think that human beings get power from these things in some way if they open themselves to them?
Yes, they are. I've had cases where the family's distraught, and we go back in the bloodline, and the entity is claiming the wife. You're mine.
Mm.
And we go back to the bloodline, and there was an occultist there that had made a pact with that entity, and now it comes back around demanding.
Mm. Payment. How then do we live, right? So this stuff's going on. There's clearly a benevolent force at work as well. There's clearly goodness in the world and forces of goodness. Again, I brought up Jesus. It's like, his teachings of love and forgiveness, and those kind of living in that way does seem to keep this stuff away. At least that's been my experience. What do you think of that? Is there a way to keep this stuff away? And what do you think about the benevolence in the universe as well?
It points to a construct. My old pastor Hushir, when he was preaching out in the evangelistic field, he'd be running out of gas. He'd go into a gas station, right, to make a phone call or something, and there would be some random stranger. Are you literally? I'm not exaggerating. Are you Hushir? Yeah. All right. I've been hanging out for 2 hours. Here's $200. God bless.
Yeah.
I promise you. And then Hashir, and he's like, okay, I got gas money to get to my next revival. By the way, I like telling these stories too, guys. I'm not all like dark city over here, but anyways, he goes to the cashier. He's like, dude, who was that guy? He's like, I don't know who you're talking about. He's got the money in his hand.
Right.
That freaks me out. So what we're looking at is, yes, I mean, I do believe there is a benevolent species out there. But the idea is that the war is won.
Mm.
And I'm not sure. I mean, at least in my worldview, it's like, well, what we know of demonology, right, was recorded 2,000 years ago. It's not monolithic, right?
Right.
It's not like they're just stuck in there, like, oh, I'm doing what I always. No, they evolved. So there are things that could have gone on since, right, that we're not aware of. But I'm equally as fascinated by angelology. I've had experiences with that particular aspect of the phenomenon. It's incredible. It really is. It makes you feel so small though. You're like, I don't know anything.
Right.
I'm like this
Right.
big, you know? So
Well, that's, I guess, like, I'm wondering, are we caught in
yeah.
a cosmic battle that's bigger than us? And
Yeah.
I guess, all right. So if the evangelical church's perspective is like, well, we don't need to do anything, we're going to be rescued by Jesus, right? Like that's the kind of there's that worldview, right? And then you could see how that would set you up to be further parasitized over time if that wasn't true. At the same time, whenever I see people being like, no, we need to use our consciousness to become who we truly are, that always seems to lead into this kind of like apotheosis, self-aggrandizing. And everyone I know that goes down that, call it new age or call it whatever kind of like spiritual path, where no, I'm a part of God and I'm going to evoke God in myself, they always end up lost in my experience. I never see that leading anywhere
And they
good.
end up really weird, but they end up
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I'm like,
Right.
let's do breathing exercises. I'm like, you kind of just, you know, you're
Yeah. Let's,
hyperventilating. That's all you're doing. You're probably gonna pass
yeah.
out. Um, yeah, I'm not in that corner either. I just, I think that people say, okay, it's all spirits. It's like, okay, well, you know, Steve and I, we've done research with iron. And when people carry iron, it's almost like it absorbs the frequency, not a new age frequency, right? Like, oh, but literally a scientific frequency that the phenomenon uses to hold itself together in this reality. And but the thing is, when I tell people to do that, even, you know, especially Christians, they're like, well, what's that? You know, and they make me out to be some like, you know, new age practitioner, and I'm the farthest from that. But to get them in that mode of, okay, like, yeah, it can be spiritual, it is spiritual, but what is a spirit exactly?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is it, again, what is that? Because I could tell you this, a lot of what we've claimed to be spirits in haunted houses, again, they share that connective tissue with projected consciousness. I have videos in my archive of orbs, and following the orb is that white cloud, right? What are we dealing with here? And so that's why, as I sit here, I'm just like, well, look, I don't have to have all the answers.
Sure.
Right. I just want the right questions. In again, it's like the government doesn't want us to ask the right questions. They want us to say, okay, you know, well, we have bodies. Well, I have antibodies. They're not bodies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we're being led astray, and it's frustrating because I'm after the phenomenon. I'm not after, I don't have presuppositions. I don't have conclusions. I want the data. And if the data validates your worldview, amazing, right? But don't create dogma. And that is what ufology is becoming. Nothing but dogma. And we have dogmatists. And that's primarily what we have in the field. It's frustrating because I really don't care. I don't care.
Because they want it to be little green men from outer space, you're saying. That's their so they're looking for confirmation about it. I'm looking for an anti-parasitic, spiritual anti-parasitic drug, personally. I mean, to me, it's like if there's some kind of parasite on our species, I would like to know how to eliminate that or kill that or love it out of existence or whatever I need to do, and whatever the thing is that is the weapon against it. I'm very interested in that, you know.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with an exorcism. I don't know. I have no idea. I just, you know, it'd be along those lines. But yeah, man, you know, I'm not in this for anything else but the data.
Mm-hmm.
And here's why, because I'm tired of meeting 70-year-olds, right? Executives, CEOs, pastors, deacons, doctors, who, right, their age on paper is 70 and they're accomplished, but inside of them, they're that 8-year-old boy who's sitting in a haunted house wondering what is going on. Because I grew up with that. And so I want answers. I want to know. I want to help. I don't want to sell. Again, I'm not like, hey, listen, you know, go buy my merch. You know, here's some t-shirts. That's cool. Maybe one day I'll do that. But at this point in my career, it's like, have all of that. I don't care. Do it. My friends do it. That's fine. as long as at the end of the day we sit down like I had with housewives and say, hey, listen, right? Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're looking for. Because what doesn't work is, hey, I know, literally, I've had a lady shaking the table, sweating profusely. Her husband, by the way, has Bell's palsy. His left side of his face is paralyzed because he challenged an entity the night before. She's shaking the table. The dishes are clinging, and the husband's drooling, and he's going, I don't know what else to do. What if I were just to be like a lot of these other guys and be like, well, it's Nephilim. Have a good night. See you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or, yeah, that's a UFO. God bless. It's not actionable. Doesn't do anything for them. Or how about this? Oh God, I'm gonna get in trouble. You know, I know you're hurting, right? But come to my lecture. See ya.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything.
Yeah. But what does do something? I guess that's the question.
Now there are some theories. Now, so if we're dealing with poltergeist activity, ignore it. Ignore it. What it's doing is it's baiting your gaze. It's wanting to be witnessed. And as soon as you fear, it empowers it. It's stronger. And what that will do is it'll change from a poltergeist to something else entirely.
Okay, well, that makes me think then that part of what it's feeding on is fear. I mean, you hear this constantly. It's a trope at this point.
Yeah.
Our fear is like a frequency of food for them or something like that.
It is. It is. I grew up with that. And so I know that as an experienced fact. It's not a theory for me. It would induce me into looping nightmares of people hurting themselves. And I was an 8-year-old kid. Wow. I mean, I didn't even know what insulin was, right? But someone had a needle in their arm in the nightmare. I had no idea what it was. And I mean, I was so innocent, pal. My buddy across the street, he's like 60 now, but he was a cool dude. I had carte blanche when I would go in his house anytime. Anyways, here's how innocent I was. He was like, now, son, he goes, you can come here anytime. He's like, but you know that weed over there? I'm like, yeah. He goes, don't tell anybody about that. I'm like, well, why would he? It's a weed. Who cares? I was that innocent. But the phenomenon knew that. And so I would be induced to a looping nightmare, man, where I can't get out of the dream. And then I would wake up and I would be so helpless and just small and weak. And I'm like, dude, there's something feeding on me. Like, what is this? And then I could feel like the weaker I got, the stronger it became. And, you know, my friend Paul St. Clair in England has suffered the same thing. We don't know what that is. Some people say we're initiated. Well, that was not fun, you know? So I don't know what's going on there, but I think that we're evolving to a place where we're figuring out some things to push the beast back in the darkness with. Consciousness, belief's a big thing. Matter of fact, a very old paper that the Collins elite were pushing around in the government, this will blow your mind, was that we don't want to bring about disclosure because it will cause people to believe in them. And they operate on a different level of physics. And the more you believe in them, the more they manifest. What is that? That's weird, pal.
But I'm getting the impression the more I look at it, the more it manifests, right? So it's like,
there we go. Now we're in simulation theory, and we didn't even start there, right? It's my brother's video game. I'm not a gamer, he is. But, you know, it's the flashlight. And you only see in the game what the flashlight hits.
Right.
If the flashlight doesn't pick it up, it's not there. So again, what we're looking at now, at least myself and my colleagues, we're looking at the phenomenon seeking to be seen to pull something else out of us. And that's why you have two craft instead of one.
Yeah, one has come out of us and one drew it out of us. And so,
one's really there, right? And then we observe it, and it's the observer effect, right? As we're observing it, something else shows up. This is, again, the Collins elite research. What were they saying? That consciousness created a UAP. Oh my goodness. And that's one of my leading theories now in my world now. It's like, okay, that would explain why there's two and not one. Why? Because the craft wanted to be observed by that little girl. And then once she observed it, it triggered that consciousness
Right.
aspect of
That's the
her.
bait. The first
The
thing's
ba-
the bait.
Exactly right. And then something else crawled out of her
Mm.
consciousness. What we're looking at, my friend, is a species that has mapped out and curated and is weaponizing our consciousness to birth from belief something else in the construct. So, it's making sense. Look, I know I'm crazy. I know.
I just want to like figure out what to
Dude,
do. I mean, that's like, what do I do then?
it's
I mean, it's not
yeah,
afflicting me, which is
yeah,
great, but then I'm in a shared reality with everybody else here,
yeah.
having this experience, and so
Honestly, I, I I'll give you my advice. It's the same thing I told my friend the other day. He's a researcher, and he's like, "Man, like all hell's breaking loose in my family." And I said, "Stop research.
Mhm.
Get out. Get
Yeah.
out." And I've had days where I think about that, right? Where I'm just gonna go stock shelves. I'll put my AirPods in, listen to some Rogan or something, and just then leave all this behind. But I do feel called to this work,
Yeah.
and I can't leave it alone. Like it's a
But
part
it's
of
that
me.
stare into the abyss long enough and become it.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
idea, right? So it's like we're
It is,
dazzled
man.
by it. It's awe-inspiring and it's dazzling
Yeah.
and it's interesting, but that's the trap of it, right? So it's like I love
Well,
that scene in Fury Road, Mad Max Fury Road, where
yeah,
I don't know if you remember they're driving along and he sees the naked woman up on the top of the tower and there's like CDs hanging that are flashing light and he goes,
yeah.
that's bait. It's like I think because what it appears to me is about to happen is potentially lots of people are going to be given the opportunity to look at it. And
Of course, and it seeks to be seen. Now, yes, it's creating conjurers,
mm,
and they're being conjured to conjure.
mhm.
And God help us because we don't know what's going to come crawling out of their consciousness.
What do you expect the future to look like here? I mean,
I don't
there's
know,
a lot of
man.
weird stuff happening, dude. I mean, like we've just found out about, like for instance, with the Epstein files, it's like,
What is
even if you
that,
give that
man?
even if you give that the kindest to take, you're
Yeah.
like, there's definitely massive slave trade going on of human beings, particularly young children and
Yeah.
young girls, pubescent, prepubescent, just maybe 17, 18-year-old girls even. They're being traded, they're being sold, they're being moved
Yeah.
around. People might be being consumed, as food in some cases. You get this whole, you can't get rid of this.
Yeah.
I would love to just drop some of this stuff like, oh yeah, we're done with the adrenochrome thing. But then you get this grape soda thing constantly through the whole narrative that you're like, man, it kind of sounds like that's what they're saying. And then,
Yeah.
and then right after that, they're like, oh, the UFOs now too. And so you're like, where is this
Well,
narrative going? Like,
well,
what's happening here?
it's like, okay. And it's like, okay, we're going to release the files. We're going to release the files. Okay. There are no files. What are you talking about? Well, you told us you released them, right? And it's like, okay, well, not really. We'll release like 1% of them.
Mhm.
There's like millions of other files that we've yet to even see.
Of course.
And then out of nowhere, here comes disclosure. Well, what's disclosure? Like, what do you mean? Like, we're talking literally, not to get like political or anything. We're talking about people who are like, I'd rather tell you about aliens.
Yeah.
than tell you about what's going on. It's like,
Right.
what? It's like, well, who's in the files? It's like, I don't know, but here's JFK. It's like,
Yeah.
well, what are we doing?
Mhm.
And yeah, that's a scary thing.
But when all that happens, what's happening for me is it's as all of the old I keep joking with people who aren't kind of more normie. I'll be like, see, you don't understand what the conspiracy theories are now because all the stuff you think are conspiracy theories have all been now shown to be true. So the stuff that is now fringe is really fringe. Like the fringe stuff is way out now because the Overton window's shifted so far
Yep.
that you can talk about insectolins on Fox News now, and you can talk about
Or, yeah,
sex rings and
it's, yeah, like we need new conspiracies because all the others were like, check, check, check. It's like,
yeah,
oh,
not
God.
conspiracies, right? Not
Yeah,
conspiracies.
yeah.
So, or conspiracies, yes, by technical definition, but not made up. So,
No.
but I mean, the ultimate one is you're living in a construct being controlled by parasitic
Yeah,
entities.
I've been very conspiratory tonight. Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, and I know people are gonna look at me and say, okay, I'm passionate about my work, and it's honestly, man, it's kind of saved my life. He's like, I found something I'm good at, or kind of good at. It's
Mhm.
like the only thing I'm good at. That and eating chicken wings and ranch, baby. That's all I'm good at. So, um, but yeah, man. So I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't believe in the narratives. I really
Mhm.
don't. I think that a lot of these people have not actually studied the phenomenology. You know, Jim Semivan said something the other day. It's fascinating in an interview. He's like, look, he's like, if you really want to know the phenomenon, look at mythology, look at folklore.
Mhm.
He's like, you're going to have to research like a cultural anthropologist to get a hold and a handle on this. And I found that to be true. And
Because you think this is the same phenomena that's been
of
going on.
course,
Because
of
I was going to
course,
ask you before, like, so are the Aztecs experiencing this, and the Maya
yeah,
and the Inca and the Egyptians, and
yeah,
everybody's experiencing this everywhere
yeah.
in the world?
Of course. I mean, Alexander the Great in his diary. Here's a wrench for you. I'll just, throw a wrench in everything. It's like one of these data points where it's like, oh, crap. Like, oh, no. Here's Alexander the Great, his diary. He's like, look, he's like, I was wanting to invade a city, but the walls were too large. And out of nowhere, here comes a flying shield that zaps it with light. It explodes the wall, and they go in and conquer.
Really?
Yes. Yes. I mean, okay, like, it's so many cases, but yeah, what we're looking at is a species that's manipulating history. It's
Yeah.
here. It's here. Well, I thought they're out there. No, 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 no. They're here, and they're invisible, and they live in a different reality. And here's what's even worse: is when they want to enter our reality, right? For instance, okay, Betty Luca, a tongue talking, and I could say this because I grew up at a holy roller, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Prayed her kids to the Holy Ghost downstairs in her basement. She was, as at least from my background, like she's a solid Christian, very, very, very strict. King James version only, by the way, which
You
I
have
grew
to
up in
be when
that
you're at
too,
that
buddy.
level.
Oh man, yeah. Anything else, boy? Let's build
Yeah.
that steak and bring it.
That King James is a great guy, from what I hear.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely want to hang out with him. But man, so here she is. She's in her living room, right? She's got her in-laws over, I think, or it's her parents, one of the two, just hanging out, and she's cooking food. What about? I'll tell you what. How is Aunt Becky doing? I don't know. All of a sudden, boom. Her parents are like this. Yeah, I can't believe it.
Oh no.
And they're in suspended animation.
Whoa.
Well, yeah. And I keep telling people, like, we better hope they're demons. Like, in terms of like the worst case scenario, we better hope they're just demons.
Yeah, demons
Because,
you tame compared.
brother, literally, they're like, and that's walks through the wall, the door, didn't open the door, walks right through it. Now, it's
What
not
walks in
solid.
the door?
Three or four entities, by the way.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this is fascinating that they walked into the construct. The construct was not real when they didn't want it to be real, Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
Get passionate now. Again, they didn't want it to be real. And when they didn't want it to be real, it wasn't real for them. There wasn't a ding dong, hello, would you like some Girl Scout cookies? It was just walking right through the door. You're in suspended animation. I'm only here for you, Betty. And Betty is going, what happened to my family? I mean, literally, their eyes are open. In the entity, again, when they wanted reality to be real, right? Again, they walked through the wall or the door. Okay. Now you can touch them. How?
Mm-hmm.
And the entity goes, I want truth tried by fire. And she's like, I don't understand what you mean. Like she's terrified, but she's like, what do you mean by that? Truth tried by fire. And so she's like, I don't know, fire. She's like, I guess I'll give you some food. I don't know what's going on. I'm cooking on a stove, whatever. And he's like, no, 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 I don't want your food. I want that. It points to her Bible. This is nuts. And so she gets the Bible. Okay. He pulls out a device again, and he's waving his hand over each page and from the Bible into the box. This is really crazy stuff, by the way, but it's fascinating. He's transferring all that information into this box. And then they leave.
What do you do with that?
What do you do with that? Well,
Yeah.
again, people are like, well, it's all horns and hooves. It's like, we got a problem because even in demonology, there are cases where they weren't demons,
Mm-hmm.
right? In demonology, like in the field, in the literature, they were like, well, that doesn't make sense. So whatever we're dealing with, again, I mean, at every turn, it
Do
seems
you think
like,
there are demons? Like, do you think that that's a real phenomenon?
oh,
Do you
what is
think
a
it's
demon?
always been this, or
Ooh, go ahead. Go ahead with that. Good
yeah, I'm
point.
just like
Yeah.
I mean, I read Enoch. It says that they're
Mm,
the Nephilim's
yeah. Well,
disincarnated spirits, right? And then,
yeah.
but then you talk to church people, they're like they're fallen angels, and then I don't know where they get that, but
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
has it always been this? I guess that's what I'm wondering.
It could be. It could be, the thing, I mean, okay, let's going back to the Collins Elite. I mean, the document that I'm in possession of, it talks about how that these governmental practitioners, just make up a term there, were contacting the phenomenon to the point where they were becoming possessed by it.
Mm-hmm.
And the Vatican was sending exorcists to Air Force bases. Right? Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I can only
I
imagine
saw
going
the
like
other day that what they said exorcisms are up like 400% or something like that
yeah,
right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, man. And I just can't imagine that, right? Like you check into work and it's like, all right, let's look at the radar. And this other guy's
Mhm.
like, "Bah." You know what I mean? Like, oh God, what's going on, Reggie? What happened to
Yeah.
you? And they're doing the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'd be out. But yeah, they had to have dozens of exorcisms because, so, the thing is with the way people research is they find like 3 or 4 data points and they say that is this. You know, a lot of Muslim exorcists and researchers follow my work, and some of them are like, I see the data points, and that's cool. But others are like, well, because they check 3 boxes, they got to be jinn. They've got to be jinn.
Mhm.
So what happens is they use
Jinn
the
being kind of the plasmoid
yeah right.
demon genies
Well,
of Islam.
right, but the problem is, again, it's like when people say that, like, because I know Eric Davis was mentioned that at the Contact in the Desert lecture he did. Oh, well, some of the data points to a jinn. It's like, well, what is that? Because when people talk about jinn, right, it's usually smokeless fire. It's like, yeah, but orbs? Here's why. Because at least in genealogy, I guess, right? That sounds like a bartending thing.
Genealogy has already
welcome,
taken.
yeah, welcome to genealogy. Yeah, there's demonology. I don't know, but my point is, even in gen research, like they said that these things procreate with women,
Mm.
and it's like I don't see an orb doing that. That's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird. So I think again that we got to be careful with the data points and how we interpret them because people are using the data. Here we go to validate their dogma. Right.
Yeah.
And it's this. And if it is this, then I'm right. And then it leads all the way back to their worldview. So it's really not about the data. It's about them pushing
Right.
their worldview.
Yeah. We're just going to have a nation full of people whose brains are so scrambled by all this. Like no one's going to be able
Oh,
to
God.
sort it out. And there is this nuts and bolts narrative that I think is very attractive to a technologically advancing society like ours. So it's like, oh, it's technology. That's our thing anyway. So this is good, so be an interesting decade. That's for sure.
It's going to be interesting, man. I want to go back to the 90s.
I know.
I'm almost 40,
gone,
dude.
man, but I hear
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Didn't
yeah.
know
I'm
how
like,
good we had it, right?
bro, I don't know how old you are, man. I'm 37, and I'm like,
48.
man,
I'll be 48 this
oh
year.
my
So.
God. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
What? No, man. You look good for 48, dude.
Hey, well,
I figured you were like my age.
Living that healthy
something.
lifestyle,
You are, dude, out there in Maine. So I would look like that too if I was in Maine.
It's easy. You just got to move to
I know,
Maine,
man.
and it all comes together.
That's it, right? No, just move. No,
yeah,
man.
but okay, well, I mean, I don't know really how to leave it except that because it's just so like strange, but I think what's valuable here is that it stretches the worldview substantially to think of it in this way, or at least to entertain these ideas, because the alternative narrative doesn't really make sense. Like, oh, they flew here from, like, how could you sit down and do a meditation and then beings fly from light years away from another planet and get here right away? That just makes no sense to me at all. It can't be that.
No, and there's evidence. This is another rabbit hole too, and I know we're out of time here, pal, but there's
Lay it on me.
evidence. There's evidence that these CE5 practitioners, that it's their own consciousness they're seeing in the
That
sky,
they're projecting. Oh, that's, yeah. Okay.
and they're like, "Look, it's a UAP," and it's like, "No, that's you, pal." The problem is, what is that? Um, and I do believe that they've classified consciousness. I mean, I have a book behind me here, back there, where is on demonology, and it goes all the way back in like the 12th century, and where a king had hired a sorcerer to project an alter ego out of himself into another environment. These are two places by location. And that alter ego, the extension of his consciousness, would pick up what's going on in that environment, and then it would come back, right? So I think a lot of that is what's taking place, and the phenomenon is triggering that. And we're going around like, oh, this is cool. CE5, look at that. It's like, no, doc, you don't understand what just, right?
Mm.
I'm going to use this again, crawled out of your consciousness. You're going to go home with something, right? And you won't like it. So I do believe that consciousness itself is being classified by our government, and
Classified, like, not classified, like categorized, classified, like actually
classified
hidden from general
and
view.
hidden. Absolutely.
Wow. So then that might be
Wow.
that's what this
Yeah.
is. Because I actually did grab another quote of yours. You said possession is designed to impregnate the observer effect.
Yeah.
It's neuroparasitology. It's consciousness that's being classified. I was like, what on earth does that mean?
One of my crazy quotes, buddy. One of those late
quote, but yeah, okay. The observer effect is this thing we've been talking about.
Absolutely. When you observe it, it collapses.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is why, you know, I've had cases where you'll have like three people looking at the same entity, and none of them agree on what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because when you observe it, it has control over what you collapse it into. Again, so there is this, it's a co-creation of the interface. It's a shadow person peripherally, right? And then when I look at it, it collapses itself into something I'm familiar with. So it's in control. Now, does it need the observer effect to be activated? Yes, that's why it seeks to be seen, friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in addition to that, it'll say, okay, look at me. And then when we look at it, it'll collapse itself, and it controls. Collapse me into this interface, would you? Why? Because I don't want you to really see me. Mythologizing.
When you say collapse, you mean that it takes a form.
Yes. Yeah, it adjusts. It
goes from like orb projection of amorphism to something with morphology that probably is based off some expectation or
something, right? Check this out, buddy. Contact in the Desert just occurred last weekend, and a group of CE5 practitioners were all there, and they're all like, you know, Googling over the sky and everything. Like, oh my God, it's amazing. And I put this on my Instagram, and honestly, some people got it, some people didn't, whatever. Point being is that one of the witnesses said, look at the orb. It's turning into an entity. They captured it on film. Look at it. And here's the orb, and all of a sudden you see it, right? The interface being constructed. Now, what they did is the same thing we've done in the field. They witnessed the mask being built. And they said, well, that is really what it is. No. It was literally, right? And so they go around, and it's like, okay, yeah, if you do that, okay, if you go do that kind of research for the next 100 years, we will never get anywhere, because witnessing the mask being constructed is not the same as witnessing who is constructing it. And they'll go around, okay, Lord Auerbach, right? Oh, there's an orb projecting an apparition. That's what it was doing. And the problem I'm having now that it's kept me up, because, you know, you're like, I probably stay up all night. Sometimes I do, pal. I really do. I'm a night owl. But here's what keeps me up. We know for a fact, again, Lukatsky's drawing a parallel. Like, okay, guys, if you want to study ufology, go into Hauntings, right? We're not even studying UFOs. So keep that in mind. My point is that we have seen balls of light and not just balls of light, like beams and contortions and variations of it in haunted houses. Now, they're projecting constructs. Boom, boom, boom. What's the difference between that and the sky? If you took that and put it in the air, that's a UAP. The altitude does not change its ability to project constructs. Question for everybody who's going to watch, listen to this. What have they been projecting in our skies? Altitude doesn't matter. Just put them up there. Doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. They're still going again. And that's what happened at Contact in the Desert, friend. And they didn't get it because they don't know the phenomenon. They don't know the phenomenology. Look at this. It's a being coming out of the orb. And here's what they said. It's an alien. Really? Because I guess they're ghosts too.
Do you think when these like grays come and they take people and they go on the ship, are they just not going anywhere? Are they still in their bed?
Yeah. So there's a research that came out recently. And it was annoying. It's like, oh, they're all physical. It's like, oh, no, they're not. Clearly not. No, I think that a lot of them are physical abductions. Some of them aren't. Even in the book Abramelin the Mage, for those who are bookworms like I am, read the book, and you're looking at a guy who he's a practitioner, and he finally goes and meets Abramelin. But before that, he's going all around the world and looking at various esoteric traditions. And he meets this lady, and this lady's saying, "Listen, I can fly." Right? How? What do you mean you can fly? Like you can physically lift off the ground? He's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Yeah, I can get off the ground. I can fly in the air and stuff." He goes, "I don't believe that at all." She goes, No. I promise you. Watch this." So she ingests a potion, leaves her body, and flies for 45 minutes. He couldn't see her because she didn't go anywhere. When she gets back into her body, she swears to him, "See, I told you I left." He said, "You never left. Your body was still here." So there are embodied, I guess, physical abductions, and there are astral abductions. The problem we're having now, and this is documented in Betty Lucas' case as well, where the phenomenon will trigger by location, right? Where you can observe it. Again, a conscious connection is made, and now you're outside of your own body. You're in two places at the same time, Daniel. And people have witnessed that. Betty Luca was about to go to bed one night. She's walking to her room. Bob, her husband, is sitting at the foot of the bed, putting his socks on. Out of nowhere, he's out of his body. He's witnessed in two places at the same time in that room.
Oh, he's witnessed somewhere else.
He's witnessed, buddy. Now, here's the issue. Years and years ago, there were researchers that said, well, we know it's physical because there are physical marks on the body, right? They actually did something to you. But that's not the case in every instance, because Betty Luca had out-of-body abductions. But when she got back into her body still manifested scoop marks. So it's, again, and this gets back into some of the ancient Israelite mythology, where it's soul first, skin second. Let's go into leprosy in antiquity, in biblical antiquity. So the authors of the Bible knew that there was a species of false prophets, and it's in the book of Ezekiel chapter 13. And when you met them, when you encountered them, you would come down with a skin condition.
I looked that up.
Oh, that'll freak you out, dude. Ezekiel chapter 13, and God's talking about soul hunters, a species of occultists who were hunting souls and pulling them out of their own bodies. So it's really deep and dark stuff, man.
We're living a complex world, huh? Or a complex construct.
Something, brother. Something.
Wow. All right. All right, man. Well, I'm gonna revisit Dark City, Ezekiel 13.
Yeah.
And if I see one of these things come my way, I'm not looking at it. That's my plan.
Don't look at it. I'd charge it rent. I would charge it rent.
Yeah.
or borrow some money off of it. I'm just joking, dude.
Nathaniel, it's been great to talk to you, dude. Where do we send people? Obviously, your Instagram. You're pretty active over there.
Yeah, I don't even want to be on Instagram anymore, honestly. I have to, though.
I know. Oh, dude, we're all in the same boat. Hey, here's a part-time job, but you don't get paid for it.
Yeah, I know.
But if you don't do it, you lose everything.
You do, really. I mean,
feed the machine, dude.
And then you gotta like be careful. Like I had a friend that had like it was actually a Facebook page where he had like 300,000 followers and he was, running ads and stuff and making money and out of nowhere. I mean, he was making thousands of dollars a month on this. And he woke up one day and he demonetized him. You're gone.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Yeah.
done. It's like, that's, God punch.
Yeah.
So,
You say the
you know,
taboo thing.
yeah, right. Yeah. On Instagram, I'm Nathaniel Gillis. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel under the same name. If you want, you could support me by becoming a part of Parasymposia, where I put out videos every week about my crazy mind and my crazy research. Dude, it has been an absolute blast.
Wait,
I
one more thing.
really,
Is your book,
yeah,
you have a book coming out or is it out?
I'm working on it.
Skin That Crawls?
Yeah, I'm working on that in a book called Larva, the Crawling Within.
It's pretty creepy sounding, bro.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my goal, man, is I want to get out of, I want to get out of like the author genre. I want to do a short film. I want to put this on, a screen to where people can fully embrace the
Right.
research. But that's where I'm at, buddy. Again, man, Maine. Maine,
Come on
Maine,
out.
Maine, 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 Maine.
Come
I'm
on
gonna
up,
call you
eat some lobsters,
my
bud.
main man, huh? Yeah, dude. I got to go to Kennebunkport. I've got to go to just a bunch of places, dude. I want to sit by the dock and I want to eat me a good lobster roll,
Mm-hmm.
and some good chowder.
Yeah, we have it. And
Bro.
this is the time right now.
Man, don't tell me that.
Yeah, you need some of that simple life.
Yeah, dude.
Get away from this stuff for a minute.
I'd love that. Dude, from time to time I'll put on Christopher Cross, right? Sailing. And I'll just like, yeah. You ever heard that song? Oh my goodness. Dun, dun, dun. I'll be like imagining like I'm getting bumped. And then I realized like I'm in Dayton, Ohio, and all I got is Taco Bell and McDonald's and a Walmart. I'm like, oh my God. Dang it.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Thank you for having me on, man.
Thank you so much for today, man. Really appreciate you.